Top 10 NFL free agents offensively going into this offseason. You're going to want to stay for one. It's going to shock you. Let's start with a couple of honorable mentions. Cam Robinson, the tackle. I think he was in Cleveland, Jacksonville, Minnesota. He's been all over the place. He's been a serviceable swing tackle, serviceable backup tackle. He's 30 years old. Wan'Dale Robinson doesn't crack the top 10 offensively just because he's limited with his size and he doesn't really stretch the field too much. However, he did stretch the field this year way better than he did in years prior. First 1,000-yard season, but he didn't even have a career high in catches. He had more catches last year than he did this year, but he had 200 more yards because he's stretching the field way better. A career high 11 yards per reception, career high in yards. Good year for Wan'Dale Robinson. I think the Giants should bring him back. He obviously had a little bit of rapport with Jackson Dart. He's a very good slot receiver. He separates pretty consistently. He's a good guy to catch balls over the middle. And he's got pretty decent yak. Decent yak. Not elite, not garbage, decent yak. But again, 5'8". He's not cracking this top 10 with some of the guys here. And it's a pretty loaded offensive free agency class in terms of skill position players as well. Isaac Samalu. Hopefully I'm not butchering that. The only reason he didn't crack the top 10 is because he's 32 years old, but he was a guard for the Steelers this year. Incredibly underrated. Top 5 in pass block win rate. I believe he was number 2 in pass block win rate amongst guards, and he was 5th in run block win rate amongst guards as well. So top 5 in both PBWR and RBWR. He is a stud, and that's amongst guards. I think the Philadelphia Eagles could use a guy like Samala. I'm pretty sure he was there earlier. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a reunite if they reunite there with Howie. They can maybe move Dickerson to center. I'm pretty sure he's played center before, and then they have a guard there because Cam Jurgens is not it. Cam Jurgens is garbage. Eagles fan. So I think Isaac Samalu could be a play there. David Njoku, Javonte Williams, Isaiah Likely, Travis Etienne, all going to find good homes. All can be productive players. That's how good this free agency class is from a weapons and an offensive standpoint and the skill positions, because Njoku, Javonte, Etienne, and Likely are all tremendous. I feel like most free agency years, they'd be in top 10 offensive players. All of them would be. Maybe not Njoku, but Etienne and Javonte for sure. The RB class this year is loaded with K9 and Brees, who are in the top 10. Spoiler. We'll get to them later in the episode. But yeah, those are some honorable mentions here that didn't quite make the cut. Starting at number 10, we have Mike Evans. And I don't want to say this is a pity ranking here, but Mike Evans has had a lot of injury concern. He was banged up, missed like 3-4 games last year, missed an extended period of time this year. He's 32 years old, and even when he was on the field, he wasn't as explosive. Career low in yards per reception at just 12 yards per catch. Now, he was never an elite yak guy or even a great yak guy, but at this point in his career, there's zero yak ability, zero yak skills from Mike Evans to be like, okay, he's still going to be able to stretch the field, still crazy catch radius, some of the best hands in the league. Are the days of him being a field stretching dominant wide receiver one behind him? I would say so. And for a 32-year-old wide receiver, breaking the bank for him doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless you are a team that is contending right now and can use a wide receiver on the outside. For some reason, Mike Evans screams Pittsburgh to me. For some reason, he screams Pittsburgh. Omar Khan loves the old guys. He loves the unctions that go on over there in Pittsburgh. Throw him next to DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers and say, fuck it. Not that I would recommend that. Not that I say that that's a good fit. That's just a vibe I'm getting out of Mike Evans. Also, like the 12 yards per reception, he was never fully healthy, and he never played with a really elite Baker Mayfield because I think Baker was dealing with some injury. You watch Baker Mayfield's tape against the Seahawks and then watch him against like the Falcons later in the year. It's night and day. It's a completely different quarterback. I have a hard time believing Baker Mayfield wasn't dealing with some injury. Outside of Matt Stafford, Baker was the only quarterback to have success throwing the ball consistently against the Seattle defense. He was playing at an MVP pace. He was literally MVP conversation, top 3 in MVP odds. I don't understand how bad he got so fast without dealing with an injury. And I'm pretty sure there was some reports of injury, like shoulder stuff that he was dealing with in the middle of the season. Obviously, Baker's a gamer. He's not going to sit out. He's not going to miss time. If there's air in his lungs, he'll be on the field. That's just the type of guy he is. But Baker really fell off a cliff in a way that makes me think it had to have been an injury. It had to have been because he was playing too good. And it wasn't even just this year. It was the past 2 years in Tampa with two different OCs. This was the third year with a different OC in Tampa Bay, Canales, Cohen, and now Josh Grizzard. So there was a lot going on in Tampa, even though it's not going to be Grizzard this year. So it's going to be a fourth year with a new offensive coordinator for Baker Mayfield. There had to be an injury in the back half of the year. It's just the way Baker's play just fell off a cliff. And that's when Mike Evans got most, like, I think he had 4 games in the back half of the year with Baker, who wasn't his real self. That's when he had his best games. He had like 140 yards in like week 15, I believe, was week 14. Either way, Mike Evans, I still think if he goes to a team like the Seahawks, if they want to bring in a Mike Evans, if they can't re-sign Rashid Shaheed, I haven't even thought of any good matches. Like a team that's competing and needs receiver help. Who's a team that could potentially be competing and could use some receiver help? The Texans. The Texans throw Mike on the other side with Nico. The Packers are losing Romeo Dobbs. The Packers don't really like to attack free agency from that standpoint. They're a team that historically builds through the draft. The Ravens could use a downfield threat like Mike Evans. The Chiefs could use a Mike Evans. So there's definitely some contenders that could use a guy like Mike, and I still think he could be a good production from a wide receiver 2 standpoint. I just think the days of him being a feature receiver, 1,000-yard guy, he could still be a monster in the red zone, but he's more suited as a wide receiver 2, stretch the field type of guy at this point in his career, possession receiver. So I have him at 10. At number 9, I have Kyle Pitts and Benjamin Solak. You might have seen him on ESPN. I found him on TikTok first. He did a very, very good breakdown of Kyle Pitts on TikTok, and I just want to give him credit because I wouldn't have had Kyle Pitts this high if I didn't see that breakdown. He also did one on Romeo Dobbs, who was also on this list. So 8 is Romeo Dobbs, 9 is Kyle Pitts. I think these are two very, very underrated free agents this offseason, especially Romeo Dobbs, because I think you kind of know what you're getting with Kyle Pitts. At this point, he's not going to line up in line a whole lot, even though he was in line the same amount in terms of percentage of snaps on the line as like a Travis Kelce, as a Mark Andrews, as some of these better pass catching tight ends in the league. But he's not going to give you a lot in the blocking game. He's not going to give you a lot after the catch. You kind of know what Kyle Pitts is, and that's a guy who's going to be a matchup nightmare on smaller corners, on nickel corners, even on safeties and linebackers, and he's going to use his catch radius and his ball skills to really be a good possession receiver and to really stretch the field, but he's not giving you much after the catch. Whereas Romeo Dobbs, we still don't know what his ceiling is. I mean, he's a really, really silky smooth route runner, and Benjamin Solak broke it down in his video. He does have some drop problems, but he also displays pretty good ball skills on tape at time and pretty good ball tracking ability. It's just, what is he doing? Like, he just has a few concentration drops here and there. So I think Romeo Dobbs, and I love a separator. Me personally, if you give me a receiver in front of me, and I don't want to use Madden as an example, but you think about Madden, when you're throwing a ball to a pass catch, you have the option to run after the catch, aggressive catch, or possession receiver, right? So the way I break it down is like, you have guys that are yak specialists, you have guys that are, contested catch specialists, and you have guys that are elite separators. Obviously, you want all three of those, but I value personally a guy that can consistently get separation against man coverage and consistently find holes in zones. And Romeo Dobbs just eats up man coverage. He has his entire career. He is an elite route runner, and he's underrated after the catch as well. It's just he didn't have a single season with over 100 targets. I think if you get him in a wide receiver 2 role where he's going to get 100 targets here, he's going to get a 20-25% target share. I think he could really produce because of how good his route running is. He has a pretty good frame. It's not like he has an elite catch radius, but he's not undersized. He's 6'2". He's a decent athlete. Very, very good route runner, and route running is where I'm at. That's where I operate. Those are the types of receivers I like. And Ben Solak, again, I'm saying this guy a lot. These are the only 2 times I'll talk about this guy, and then we won't talk about him ever again. He really highlighted also one thing that I thought was really interesting. Is like his skill set can translate into almost any offense because he's just so good of a route runner. And it's drops, but according to Ben, it was like 5 last year, 5 this year. But I was checked Fantasy Pros, which I use for my analytics, and I mean, Fantasy Pros is pretty reputable. I don't know what he probably has more reputable sources, to be honest. He works for ESPN. But Fantasy Pros said he had 7 a year ago, only 4 this year. So, and the drop problems are concentration. It's not like he can't make a contested catch. So I think Romeo Dobbs could be a very, very sneaky, good wide receiver for one of these teams that needs a wide receiver too. I've been saying the Steelers should trade for one of the Packers wide receivers for like 2 years now. I swear I've been saying that. So I think Dobbs to Pittsburgh as well. And I don't know if Aaron played with him. I think he might have. When Dobbs was either way, good separator. Aaron likes a guy that can get open. I think he could be a really good asset, or even for a team that's rebuilding and they need a good wide receiver on the outside, like the Raiders, a Romeo Dobbs for Fernando Mendoza, Romeo Dobbs, Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty. I feel like that could be a good option as well. So when you have a guy like Mike Evans, you want him to go to a contender because he only has a limited amount of time. But a guy like Romeo Dobbs, only 25 years old, has a lot of experience, very, very good, established, crispy route runner, quick feet, drops the ball a good amount, not good concentration drops. Was in the news I think a year and a half ago or 2 years ago with some, I think he got suspended or something. He missed a team meeting, he crashed out of a team meeting or something. So maybe a little bit of a diva stuff going on there. But either way, I think Dobbs could be a very, very good safety blanket for any team that is in dire need of wide receiver help. I'm trying to think. The Ravens. I mean, Zay Flowers is a good receiver though. Hmm. I'm trying to think, go by division by division. The Jets, I wouldn't be totally opposed, but there's a wide receiver that we'll get into later that I really, really want the Jets to get. Also, disclaimer, it's assumed that Daniel Jones is going to go back to Indy and that George Pickens is going to get franchise tagged, or I think he did get franchise tagged already. So those guys aren't in the list. I think those guys are assumed to head on or to return to the teams they were with this season. So those guys just aren't on this list. Number 7, Braden Smith, I think is the 7th best offensive player in free agency. Hold on. I got to get the football. My buddy, shout out Nick Mellis, shout out Melly Sticks, golf content creator and friend of the program. He told me that he showed some of my videos to his dad's assistant, and he said I just do too much stuff with my hands. So I'm trying to just, when I have this football with me, I won't be doing a bunch of random shit with my hands. And I don't know, it just looks better when I have the football in my hands. So yeah, either way, irrelevant. Braden Smith, very, very good tackle, very, very good tackle. Top 5 right tackle in the game. Very, very experienced. Only allowed 1 sack and 6 QB hits. Braden Smith got hurt in week 13 last year. He played 800 snaps, only allowed 1 sack, 6 QB hits. And he played teams like Denver, LA, Jacksonville, Houston, all very good, some elite pass rushes. But more importantly, Jonathan Taylor, after Braden Smith went to IR, was averaging 57 yards per game on the ground. Before Braden Smith was on IR, he was rushing for 100 yards per game on the ground. Braden Smith could be a luxury right tackle, 29 years old, still plenty of ball left, some injury concern, more than some injury concern, 17 missed games over the last 3 seasons. But if you are a team that needs a tackle, like the Cardinals are a team that comes to mind, even though they're probably going to draft Moyagi, however you say his name, the tackle from Miami at 3. Either way, if you need a tackle, Braden Smith, I think it's rare you see a guy as experienced as him who can play at as high a level as he can, make it to free agency. He's a really good guy. I think he's a top 7 offensive free agent in this year's cycle. These next 2 guys, we got the 2 running backs. I have Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker. I think both of these guys are not elite, but borderline elite. Could be top 10 if they were in an offense to really, really produce. I have Breece at 5, K9 at 6. And all you recency bias assholes are going to be like, well, K9 just won Super Bowl MVP. Here's how I break down Kenneth Walker versus Breece Hall. Both of them are going to be sought after running backs in free agency this year. I lean Breece slightly. Before you sprint to the comments and say, oh, you're a Jets fan, of course you'd think that. I think Kenneth Walker is a better runner of the football. I think K9 has more power than Breece Hall. He breaks more tackles than Breece Hall. I think Breece has a little bit more burst, but Breece is also more elusive, where you get a more power to elusiveness combo out of K9. You're not really going to get that with Breece. But where Breece separates himself from K9 is his pass catching ability, right? He is a better pass catcher than K9, and K9 is a better runner than Breece Hall, but the gap between Breece Hall catching passes and K9 running the football is bigger because Breece can line up in the slot. Breece can line up outside. He's caught a few fade touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers is throwing him the fade ball. That's how good of a pass catcher Breece Hall is. He just hasn't really been in an offense to really put that on display because the Jets offense has been a joke. And on the ground, they both averaged 1.8 yards after contact per attempt last season. K9 also averaged 0.3 yards more before contact. So the Seahawks offensive line was getting a better push, and both of them were getting around the same amount of yards after contact per carry. K9 had one more run of 30 yards or more, so both of them were pretty explosive at times. But then again, that's with K9 getting almost a half yard more push per play before contact, but from his offensive line. And yeah, like I said, I just think Kenneth Walker is a better runner. Breece is a better pass catcher, but the gap between Breece as a pass catcher and K9 as a runner is way bigger. So for those reasons, I lean Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall on the right off. I think both of them are really good. Like they should both get around 10, 12, $13 million. I think Derrick Henry gets $15 million a year. 12, 13 would be slightly, I think that'd be slightly above James Cook, Josh Jacobs. That'd be in that range. If their agents could get more than that, I'd be shocked. I don't want the Jets to sign Breece Hall because I think they have too many pieces. And that's not anything indicative. Like, that's not because Breece is a bad player. It's just if you have as many holes as the Jets do, dumping 12, $13 million a year into a running back for the next 4 years, not the best idea when you can get at least league average running back play pretty consistently in the draft. But the Seahawks just won the Super Bowl. They have a lot of cap space. They can afford to keep a guy like K9 in the building. He just won Super Bowl MVP. It's not like they have a whole lot of holes. They do need to pay JSN. They are going to have to pay Witherspoon. Rashid Shaheed's probably a free agent. Josh Jobe, Kobe Bryant are going to need contracts, but they have $75 million in cap. So I think the Seahawks should bring back K9. I think Breece should see the open market. I think that'd be good for both the Jets and for Breece Hall. Like, go join a team while you're still good at football. These running backs, like, go look at the average age of the free agent running back and then the average age of every other free agent position. It's ridiculous. There's barely any 30. I don't even think I saw a 30-year-old running back that hit free agency. So I have I have K9 at 6, Breece at 5. Both of these guys are elite running backs. They just haven't been in a real position to succeed. Breece Hall because he was on the Jets. K9 because he was splitting carries with Sharp in a committee backfield. Number 4, the fourth best free agent offensively, I think, is Rashid Walker. There's 3 guys I have ahead of him. I just think their ceilings are so much higher. But Rashid Walker is a beast. He's going to be 26 to start next season. It's rare you see a left tackle as polished, not as polished, but with as much experience as Rashid Walker hit the open market. 0.8% pass block win rate last year. That's 11th among qualifying tackles. He struggled in run blocking per PFF. But like I said, he's not going to be elite at the position. He still has a lot to polish. He could develop. He's a big guy. I think he's like 6'6", 325, the ideal prototypical size, arm length, all that. A lot of starts under his belt. Proven to be a serviceable starter. He did have 9 penalties, though. And I think it was like 6 sacks allowed. So he is going to get pressure. He's going to be good for a penalty or two, or like half a penalty a game on average, a little bit more than that. 92.8% pass block win rate is really good. 11th amongst tackles, not just left tackles, all tackles. So he can pass block. He's a good player. 26 years old. You can get him and you get at least league average tackle play with potential with above average pass blocking play out of your left tackle for the next 4 or 5 years with Rashid Walker. So you got to put him at 4. At 3, man, I can't tell you guys how much I love Alec Pierce. I think Alec Pierce in the right situation can be a top 10 receiver in the NFL. I really do. He has the size and the speed. He's a 4'3" guy. He's 6'3". He's a field stretcher. We know this. 20 yards a catch over the last 2 seasons. But he's more than a field catcher. His ability to separate is very, very underrated. He's a fantastic route runner. And his ball skills and his ability to make a contested catch in traffic could make him a real problem over the middle of the field as well. He's not just a deep threat. He really isn't. The only area you're not going to get a lot out of Alec Pierce is yards after the catch. He's not making guys miss. He didn't have a broken tackle all year, according to Fantasy Pros. But he is an elite field stretcher. He has elite ball skills. He has a very, very underrated catch radius. His route running is so fluid. He has the speed to stretch the field deep. And he does have the speed where if you get him in open space, he can outrun somebody to the end zone. But he's more than just a big play guy. He had 1,000 yards on a 15% target share. Alec Pierce had 1,000 yards on a 15% target share. The only other 2 receivers to do that in the past 10 years are Mike Evans and Mike Williams, and both of them did it one time. Alec Pierce was the only receiver that had a 15% target share in 2025 to go over 800 yards. The only other receiver with a target share higher than 12% and to have more than 500 yards was T. Higgins. Alec Pierce is elite in the right offense with the right guy throwing him the football, he can be a top 10 receiver. He can be a wide receiver one. He's more than just a deep threat, man. I'm telling you, he's more than just a deep threat. He has the route running. He has the contested catchability. He has the hands to be a real threat over the middle of the field in the intermediate routes, towards the boundary on the outside. And I think he's good enough route runner to line up in the slot. And he has strong enough hands where he can be a trusted possession guy, move the chain type of guy. He just hasn't had that target. He hasn't had the volume to produce at that type of level, but he's still getting 1,000-yard seasons while averaging while having a 15% target share, averaging 20 yards per catch. We're going to see that yards per catch number come down because he's more than just a deep threat, and that's the only way the Colts were using him. He can line up in the slot. He can line up on the outside. He can beat zone. He can win over the middle. He can win over the top. He can win over the boundary. His route tree is very, very deep. He's not limited. He has great hands. He has great speed. He has great size. Alec Pierce can be a top 10 receiver in this league if he's in the right situation. I'm telling you, I'm so bullish on this guy. I really am. I'm going to be taking it, depending where he goes. It doesn't really matter where he goes. Like, I like him as a player so much. Go watch his tape. I'm telling you guys. He barely drops the ball. Good hands. Really, really good hands. Great body control. Great route running. Great release. You can't press this guy at the line of scrimmage. One, because of his speed. Two, his release is really good as well. I'm all in on Alec Pierce. But he's just not, he hasn't had the production that this second guy has, and that's Tyler Linderbaum, also 25 years old. How are the Ravens at this? I don't know how the Ravens don't bring this guy back. He's top 5 at his position, 25-year-old center, 3 Pro Bowls, only 2 sacks and 1 additional QB hit this season. Played the 14th most offensive snaps in the league. The guy is durable. The guy is a stud. I don't know how the Ravens don't re-sign him. I guess they're in cap hell. I haven't really looked at their cap situation. He had a 97% pass block win rate. That was second amongst centers last year. Tyler Linderbaum is a blue chip. Sign him in free agency to a 7-year deal. You're going to get at least, at the worst, league average production from the center position for the next 7 years, with at the best the second best center behind Creed Humphrey. He can get up. Like, that's how good this guy is. Tyler Linderbaum, I think, is going to be a very, very highly sought after asset in free agency, and he should be. I don't understand how a 25-year-old, top 5 at his position, 3-time Pro Bowler, top 5 is center versus PFF, the second best pass block win rate amongst the position, amongst all centers, is hitting free agency. I really don't. The Ravens need to lock him up. He's just a guy you don't let walk. He's a guy you don't let walk. And the best free agent, chat. I did some homework on Malik Willis, and I'm in a very, very scary spot with this guy right now. I think Malik Willis is disgusting. I think he has franchise quarterback upside. I think he has top 5 QB upside. Malik Willis. It's a very small sample size, but he's going to be a starting quarterback next year. He's going to be, at worst, the 4th best scrambler. Easily. Josh, Jaden, Lamar, Malik Willis, out of all the starting quarterbacks next year. He is an elite scrambler. He has elite escapability. His pocket presence is very, very good for a guy that's barely had any starts. His accuracy is so underrated. He doesn't have a lot of tape under a lot of pressure. So we don't know how he performs when the protection breaks down, but he has put on tape. He's willing to step into throws, take a beating, and still put the ball where it needs to be. He's a very accurate passer, very accurate down the field. And I went back and watched his 2024 tape. Then I watched his 2025 tape. A lot of the deep passes he connected on in 2024, a couple of underthrows, inaccurate on the deep ball. But his receivers would make great plays. In 2025 this year, the dot on 3rd down to Romeo Doubs. He had a deep ball to Jaden Reed where he stepped up in the pocket against the Bears in overtime, hit him in stride. Malik Willis is the real deal. Malik Willis can be a franchise quarterback. He has elite dual threat upside. And in today's NFL, if you have elite dual threat upside, that means you have top 5 upside in this league. I'm all in on Malik Willis. I want the Jets to sign him. I think whoever signs Malik Willis is going to get a real hidden gem. And he sat behind a productive offense for 2 seasons now and watched Jordan Love operate a productive NFL adult offense. Again, landing spot does matter a lot with Malik. Like, if he goes to an offense that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, probably like Frank Reich and the Jets, then he'll probably fail. But if he goes to an offensive coordinator that has a plan for him, Arizona maybe, I don't trust the staff they're putting together in Miami quite yet. But either way, Malik Willis has the traits, has the accuracy, escapability, pocket presence to be an elite quarterback. I think he's the number one free agent in the NFL this season. Malik Willis, stud. Hit that like button, subscribe, go watch some Malik Willis tape, go watch some Alec Pierce tape. I love you guys. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like the video. I'll talk to you guys later.